Welcome back to Strange Form. Today, we are going to be doing something a little different. We are going to be doing a deep dive into the recently released Alien Romulus trailer, discussing some theories and generally trying to make sense of what we're seeing. Though there may be some accidental spoilers, most of this is just going to be my general idea of what's going on. First, let's watch the teaser and official trailer back to back, and then start picking apart the individual scenes to figure out what's what.
Run.
Is this really where you want to spend the rest of your life?
You know I don't.
Then this is our only ticket out of here.
What's happening?
There's something in the water.
What do you mean there's something in the
I don't know,
water?
there's just something in the fucking water. Fucking thing's hunting us.
Open the door, come on.
Run.
Are you sure you want to do this?
Now for this part, I've significantly lightened up the trailer in order to more easily see and discuss what's in each frame. We start out with a very similar atmospheric processing plant to the one we see in Aliens. As a matter of fact, everything from the slat-shuttered window to the red light screams Cameron's Aliens. From what I understand, the main plot centers around a group of young people who don't want the shake-and-bake colony lifestyle. The main protagonist being a young woman who is being cared for by a synthetic after her father has died, entrusting her to the android. It's unclear what his feelings are towards her, but she seems to regard him as a brother. The young crew gets off the colony world by taking a puddle jumper, the ensuing events pushing them to dock with the Renaissance Station, a Weyland-Yutani research facility that has become a ghost ship. Here we have a star aperture-style hatch, very reminiscent of what we saw on the Nostromo. Alvarez has said that he wants to bridge the technologies seen in Alien with what we see in Aliens. So one half of the Renaissance research facility is the older Remus module, with very similar architecture and technology to the Nostromo. And as the crew explores the newer Romulus portion of the lab, we will see the more streamlined technology we saw in Aliens. It's heavily rumored that Ian Holm will have a posthumous performance as another model of the android Ash that we saw in Alien. And the shadow here actually does looks somewhat like the outline of the actor. It looks like right here that someone must have bagged one of Ripley's bad guys. I do wonder how they are going to address the acid not eating its way all the way through the hull of the station. If there were any types of battles, there should be hull breaches everywhere. It also appears in both trailers that the artificial gravity is only intermittently functional throughout the station, which leads me to hope that they have some sort of floating alien sequence. It would be interesting to see how the creature makes its way around zero gravity. This shot is interesting on multiple levels. First, we have the blue beam similar to what was seen in the original Alien when Kane enters the egg chamber. This is also similar to the scanning laser the Reclamation crew used at the beginning of Aliens. The android appears to have some sort of containment module. It could be a lamp, but it's not putting out much light. And it appears to have ampules of something. It's hard to tell. He's holding it in a few shots in the trailer. On the railing, there's what looks like the beginning of the secreted resin used by the creatures to build their hive. It also very much looks like there's a hive above him as well. Here we have shots of what looks like a laboratory, which not only reminds me of Dead Space, but also Alien Isolation. Already, my eyes are darting around the scenery trying to figure out which table to hide under. This sequence is interesting because it's almost akin to the Dark Horse Alien comics, as there were a few issues where they had devices that could see through the body, and Ripley also used something similar in Alien 3. Now, in this trailer and the previous trailer, we see this actor getting snagged by a facehugger, and she also appears to be the one in the second Red Romulus poster. In the first trailer, we see them pull the dead facehugger off of her, and she looks pretty banged up here, having blood and scratches all over her head. But that's understandable being how she hit the ground pretty hard when she got facehugged. The cool thing about this sequence is if you look closely, you can actually see the classic shape of the chestburster, and I'm not sure how she's standing while this is happening, but I've seen a guy talking calmly to the camera after a bear tore his face off, so adrenaline is a hell of a drug. From my understanding, the two women in this shot flee to the shuttle, and when they arrive, chaos ensues when one of them is torn apart by the chestburster, and they end up smacking the shuttle into the side of the station, doing serious amounts of damage to both the station and the shuttle. To me, this looks like this might be the same container that the company scientists are wheeling in this shot, which may or may not be carrying the large cocoon-looking object that is being brought on board through some sort of containment field in this shot. So I think this actually might be the big chap in some sort of protective cocoon. You can see a sort of spine on one end of it. But then again, it could be anything else. That's just the feeling I get. Here you can see the crew appears to be in the red-lit science laboratory. And instead of eggs, we seem to have some sort of incubation unit, with a thin membrane that the facehuggers can just sort of tear through. From the lighting to the cinematography, the scene looks a lot like when Ripley and Newt were attacked by the released facehuggers. It looks intense. I wonder what the incubation time is going to be in this film. Is there going to be a fast turnaround, or are we going to see the group lugging around incapacitated characters with facehuggers attached? And I didn't notice this at first, but this is actually two separate characters being attacked. And I have to say, it's actually really disturbing watching this man fight off this tiny appendage that's trying to force itself into his mouth. Later during the tinnitus scene, we seem to see the same actor, bloodied and bruised, with a rod of some sort trying to either pry something open or push something back. It'll be interesting to see if he actually does stave off the attack from the facehugger, as it took a whole group of Marines to do that in Aliens. From the previous trailer, we can see that all hell breaks loose after this sequence, and is probably what the crew is fleeing in the curved corridor sequence, where everybody seems to be running from a horde of pursuing facehuggers. Now, I've watched this shot over and over again to try to figure out what we are seeing here and what's going on, and I think I figured it out. As you can see, this appears to be either a hand or a foot. My first thought was that it was a foot because you can see that the creature has digigrade legs, and I was thinking that maybe it pulled the fingers up when running, like the hooves that we see on the runner alien in Alien 3, but then maybe could also extend them sort of like a primate. But I also noticed that the wrist here seems to be extremely bent, almost like a tentacle. So what I actually think is happening here is that what we are seeing here is the creature emerging from a fresh molting, and its skin is soft, sort of the way that spiders are after they shed their exoskeleton. This also may or may not be a regenerated limb due to the pulse rifle damage, but I will get into that more in a second. Here we have the classic behind you sequence. It's hard to tell, but this appears to be the same woman who ran off with the one who was killed by the chestburster and crashed the shuttle. I wonder if there's going to be a subplot where the newly born Xenomorph is stalking her as she tries to make her way back to the group. It certainly appears that she's running away from something in these scenes. Here we have a spacesuit sequence, calling back to both the original Alien and Isolation, but also Prometheus and Covenant, as those two had more oblong domed helmets such as these. The battle-damaged creature looking similar to to the big chap when he attacked Lambert and Parker, there are some characteristics of this creature that were almost reminiscent of the Queen, which makes me wonder if this is part of the life cycle that we are exploring. I would definitely be interested in seeing how one of these molts into a queen, but then again, we could be seeing something completely different, especially with shots like this that appear to be thin fingers over the dome of the creature emerging from some sort of cocoon. As for this sequence with the acid hanging in the air, here's my theory. I'm willing to bet that the protagonist comes down the elevator and is grabbed by the creature through the gate. She takes the protopulse rifle and blows its arm off. It then flees, and in the ensuing chaos, something disables the artificial gravity, causing the acid blood trail to hang in the air while the protagonist attempts to give chase. Honestly, I would be surprised if we aren't getting a good deal of the film here in the two trailers, semi-chronologically. You've got the crew leaving the planet, docking with the station, encountering the facehuggers, one of them getting hugged, having a chest burster, them all running away from some new creature, and them pursuing the creature into what looks like a hive. And in this sequence, you've got the heroes running around what looks like a hive. And you can see here that the android's eyes flip up, probably to communicate with the ship's computer or something else. This sequence seems to be the station crashing into the rings of the planet it's orbiting, and if you look closely, it looks like there's another ship here on the horizon. This last shot of the creature appears to be much bigger than even the big chap, and looks quite a bit like Sideshow's alien warrior mythos statue. The protagonist appears to be holding onto a rung of a ladder, and if you look closely, you can see that the alien is grabbing her with its left hand. There also appears to be a lot of wind, similar to the airlock sequence with Ripley and the Queen. From the strange ridges on the side of the head to the bony barrel chest and sinewy jaw muscles, this thing does bear more than passing resemblance to the Queen. But there are still a whole bunch of life cycle concepts that have only been explored in the comic books and novels, such as an alien king and the Praetorian Guards. So who knows what we are going to find out about this thing when the film finally rolls out. And even though we are seeing quite a few scenes chronologically, the most persistent rumor online is that we are only seeing about the first half of the film, and we aren't seeing much at all from the second half other than the falling space station. And many of the scenes we are seeing have had special effects omitted to protect the storyline. In the end, my guess is that this one isn't going to have a whole heck of a lot of other creatures, as in the way Aliens or Alien 4 did. And instead it's going to center around maybe one or two stalking the group. My feeling is that the hive was created before the new group got there, and the company exterminated or moved most of what was there. I would like to be wrong about this, because after all, I definitely would like to see a bunch of the creatures, but I think that this is a smaller story attempting to kick off a new beginning for the franchise. But any way you look at it, I'm going to be there opening weekend supporting it all the way. There have been some great Alien films, and some not so great Alien films, but I don't think that there's ever been a truly terrible Alien film. Even Requiem gives us some cool designs and a few fun moments. So here's to hoping that this sets off a whole new chapter in the franchise, and the show takes us even further into the world of the Star Beast. Strange Form, signing off. And remember, never stop collecting.